Hello again. So I think this one should be quite useful. Here in Seville, at the moment, it's a time when the new academic year is starting and a lot of teachers are going into their classes, are about to have their first classes of the year this week, next week, or possibly the week after. If I'm too late and you've already had your first class of the year or classes of the year, please earmark this video, bookmark it, make a note of it, and watch it in just under a year's time. Really quite interesting, I think, the first lesson of the year. What tends to happen is that you see teachers going backwards and forwards from their classrooms to the teacher's room in a mad frantic state, trying to prepare for groups of teenagers that they probably have never met, don't know. So they're trying to predict the unpredictable, as it were. And you see teachers preparing all sorts of things, preparing, fun activities, word searches, little exams, little tests to see what the students remember from last year. I've got a cat here. I'm amazed you haven't made it onto a video yet. Printing off this, that and the other. And normally teachers end up with a sort of pile of paper this big for each of the classes that they're about to teach in their first lesson. So this technique, I hope, will take out some of the anxiety for you, will cut down on your prep time, and also save the photocopier. The photocopier gets used like it never does at any other time of the year prior to the first few lessons of the year. And so, maybe we can, save a bit of paper and save a few trees while we're at it. So the technique, the strategy that I would suggest comes from Understanding Teenagers in the ELT Classroom. I'm going to explain it to you now. And it is to turn your first lesson of the year into a data collecting activity across at least 3 of the 4 skills. So rather than go in and try to get your students to like you, entertain them, and all this, we go in and the idea is to listen to some of their English and get an idea of it, to read some of their English and get an idea of it. So the basic setup that I use is something like this. I'll have about 15 questions, conversation questions ready. There are 300 conversation questions as a downloadable resource to this book. Also, I probably have an older list of conversation questions kicking about. So if you want some of mine, email me. There's an email on attached to the channel, and I shall send you something. Or you can make up your own. And another thing you can do is you could sift through the book and take out conversation questions that are going to come up in the first few chapters, modules, units there. So we start off, we say hello to the class, we stick them quickly in pairs, we say, guys, today the idea is for me to get an idea about your level of English, to listen to you, see what you're writing, etc., etc. This is probably going to be different to many of the first lessons that they've had, or indeed that they were expecting. But I like it because it puts the onus on the students immediately. It says, come on, you've got to do something. You've got to impress the teacher. It's about what the teacher thinks of what you're doing, which I think is the right way to go for the rest of the year. It sets the tone nicely. So we put the students in pairs, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 5 questions up on the board, projected there. Ready, steady, go. I want you to talk about these for 5 minutes. If you finish in 2 minutes, you're finishing too early, friends. You need to embellish the questions, make them longer, ask why, ask some extra questions. So I want you to be talking for the full 5 minutes. Ready, steady, go. And then what we do is we take our little notebook, we pull our chair up to the first 2. Hello, what's your name? What's your name? Yeah. And then, go speak. I'm just going to listen. Thanks, Cross. And we just listen. We tune in our ear and we listen to them for a minute or 2 minutes as they speak. And what we try to scribble down is something, maybe a systematic error that they're making, and we scribble it down as we hear it, because then it's easier to remember what the error was, and maybe something we liked from them. After a minute, 2 minutes, we just shuffle our chair forward next to another pair. We don't need to look at them. We don't need to distract them. We just, if they look at us, we just turn away. This is, monitoring 101 from our certificate or CELTA course, from our pre-certificate, pre-service training. And then we just tune in, listen again to another couple. Maybe we listen to 2 pairs or 3 pairs, and then we finish. Time to feedback, guys. Very nice. I heard a couple of things. So somebody said this, doesn't matter who, but how would we make that a little bit better? Somebody said this, yeah, can you spot the error there? Oh, and somebody said this, which I really liked. That was a beautiful word. You guys all know that? Magic. And I also heard another nice expression, which was da-da-da-da. Can you remember the last word? Da-da-da, yeah, well done. So you know that expression, really nice. Okay, immediately we've got the measure of maybe 4, 6 students. Doesn't matter if you've got 12 students in the class or 60. You've already listened to 6 of them. You've got an idea. This is much more memorable than trying to learn everybody's name in one go and doing an activity where we're not getting an idea for any of them. So we move on. We say, now what I'd like you to do is to take a look at these questions, choose one of them that you like, the questions you've just spoken about, and write me a paragraph. Write me a short paragraph of about 8 sentences in answer to that question. If you can't think of 8 sentences, you can take another question and write a little bit more, but try to write a text, a coherent text, rather than just, loose, unconnected sentences. And away they go. Now, just as they're speaking, we need to be monitoring, not just sitting at the front thinking about what we're going to get from the supermarket during our tea break. The same with the writing. The moment they start writing, well, we give them a minute to write the first couple of sentences, and then, hello, what's your name? Yeah, come and show me what you've done. I call it creeping marking for in-class writing. It's like, teacher, I've only written 2 sentences. That's great, come on. Come over here, show me what you've done so far. This is good because immediately the person next to that student thinks, whoa, it's going to be me next. So they commit to the writing a little bit more. And it means that by the time the first person says, finish teacher, we've probably already seen 6, 7, 8, 9 students' work. Not all of them, but we've seen something of what they're writing. Okay, so now we're starting to get an idea. We're starting to get an idea of individuals. We're looking at their work. They're getting the message that, this course is about what sentences they can produce in English and the teacher helping them, which at the end of the day is what we're there for, isn't it? So then we go back to the speaking. We show them another 5 questions. Maybe switch up the pairs so they're with a different partner. We can do a little bit more speaking again. Ready, steady, go. And again, we get on our bicycle, get our piece of paper, and we monitor 2 or 3 more pairs of students. Again, a little bit of feedback, and then it's on to testing their listening. We say, guys, I'm going to play you a minute of, or maybe 30 seconds to a minute of an audio. Very easy. On your piece of paper, beneath where you've written your paragraph, I'd like you to write down every word you hear. So this is some intensive listening. Again, it's possibly not the kind of listening that they're used to. And what we do is we take an audio from the book, maybe one of the first couple of audios, take 30 seconds to a minute of it. The audio should be graded, roughly for the level of the students. And then we just start playing it. We play 2 or 3 words, loop it back to the beginning, let it run for 2 or 3 more words, loop it back. Just keep looping it back each time, clicking on the old little arrows to take it back. And there they're writing. It's like a dictation, but we're using the audio. And when we get to the end, when they've heard it quite a few times, then we say, okay, so go, before we, show them any text, so what have we got? Can someone give me the first line? What did you get for the first line? And we tell them, as they're listening, if there's any stretches of speech that they can't get, they just put a little line and move on. And this is very useful. I remember in some classes, I remember individual students that struck me as, this person wasn't speaking a great deal, but, hair in my mouth, was very accurate on the listening. So straight from the first lesson, we're getting an idea about different students' profiles across the skills. Maybe after that, we go back to the speaking, do one more round, depending on how many students we have, with another 5 questions. And that's it. That's it for our data collection, really. We say, okay, that wasn't a piece of work, the writing, but I want to take everybody's paragraphs in just so I can have a look. I'm not going to give it a grade or anything. I'm still getting to know you. But then we can take out a few more systematic errors, and this may give us an activity for the second lesson of the year. We could play a game with, correcting systematic errors, see if they remember some of those. After that, we can do basically anything. That's the important part of the data collection of the lesson. I call it a bare bones lesson because we're cutting away down to the essentials. After that, we can tell them about the course. We can explain to them the rules of the centre, the institution, our rules, for example. We can show them a couple of photographs about us and tell them a little bit about ourselves. But again, trying to keep the onus on them, can anybody tell me anything about these pictures of me? Would you like to speculate or ask me anything about them? And then allow them just to ask us questions. They could use the 10 or 15 conversation questions we've already projected and shown them, or they could invent their own. And then we freewheel to the end of the lesson, having done some valuable data collection. So that's my bare bones lesson, first lesson for the start of the year. I think it works particularly well with, intermediate and above groups of teenagers. And when you go in with that kind of mission, I'm going to collect, it gives you this purpose. It gives you this direction. And it takes out a lot of that worry and uncertainty from the first few lessons. And like I say, it sends them away with the right message, like, I'm going to have to do something in this lesson, It's about what I do and the teacher listening. It's which I think is, again, as I say, the right message to send out. If you try that this week, next next year, any time with a new group, please do come back and let me know in the comments. It's nice to hear. And I wish you all the best for your lessons this year, next year, every year. Strength and energy.